Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm going to do a video looking at a build for the new god Skadi. If you haven't played this god yet, she is a Norse hunter. She's pretty fun. She has a wolf that she can send off to fight enemies. The wolf can actually tank towers, which is pretty awesome. And I'm going to be calling this build the Sikkim build. I was also thinking of calling it Puppy Hurts, but I think I'm going to call it Sikkim because I think it sounds a little cooler, has a little bit more flavor, and as you can guess, this build will be focused mainly on the damage and the attacking that Calder does. So this is going to have to do with a little bit of cooldown, a lot of power and penetration. Even though Skadi is a hunter, I think she is very ability based, so I think it's important to get the power over the attack speed. To me, an ability based hunter, you can tell if they're ability based if the basic attack is something that you kind of follow up with abilities, whereas an attack speed or an attack based hunter to me is just a way they use their abilities as a way to set up their basic attacks, whereas in Scotty's case, her abilities are just kind of take the front line in her kit, and the basic attacks are just a follow up, and it's not like they are front and center. You know, the basic attacks are just a little bit of extra damage, really. The the abilities give the most damage in her kit. So that's why I think she's definitely a basic ability-based hunter. Um, Probably one of the strongest ability-based hunters in the game. So we're gonna have some interesting items in this build. So we'll go into the God Builder, and we're gonna start off with the Transcendence start. Again, this is just to get some power off early and to also get her mana sustain a little bit better early game. You're seeing Transcendence being used on. Oops, we're just gonna do the second tier actually. You're seeing Transcendence being used on a lot of hunters right now. I think it's a very strong item. It gives you that extra mana, and you can tell right away once you get online that you can just use abilities so much more often. You don't have to worry about mana as much. So that's why we're going to start with that. And then we're going to, after we do the tier 2 of Transcendence, we're going to have uh, 3 mana pots. Oops. And then 2 health pots. And I think this is just, you know, if it was a basic attack focus hunter, I might do 2 health pots, but because she uses her abilities quite a bit, I'm going to be using the mana pots. And then going into the tier 2, we're going to finish off Transcendence. And again, that'll just give her some, you can see the stats there, that'll give her some physical power, 300 mana, and some extra MP5, and then she gains mana per stack. So when she stacks, she gets extra mana, so that'll help her a lot in lane and then throughout the game, really. And then we're going to go into Warrior Tabi, which is, I've said in many other videos that this is the only real physical boots that I think are viable. I think ninja boots, they give you extra attack speed, but the 40 physical power is so big, and I think physical power is more important than attack speed in general. So that's definitely why I would choose those over ninja boots. And then we're going to go into an item that I don't see any hunters use, and it's for a good reason. I think this is, you look at the item, you look at the stats, this is Jotunn's Wrath, and this is something that's mainly meant for junglers. Now, if you're a basic attack jungler, you can use this item because you're still going to be using your abilities quite a bit, and so the cooldown is nice. But for a lot of hunters, they don't really use their item, they don't use their abilities enough to warrant getting the cooldown reduction. It's like if you were to rank the types of stats that you need on a hunter, cooldown reduction would be at the bottom of the list. Attack speed, physical power, physical penetration. Those are the 3 main things a hunter needs. So you wouldn't want to really buy an item with cooldown reduction. But on Skadi, I think the cooldown reduction is great because hers is a slow and it does so much damage. I think they might nerf the damage on that one because it does so much, and it also, when you ever use the one, whenever Calder attacks someone who's been hit by it, he does extra damage. So being able to being able to use that ability more often, I think, is very important. The 3, not as much. The 3 is a great ability. It's a good CC ability, the little AoE. And if you don't know Skadi's kit, I won't explain her abilities. I'm just gonna assume that everyone who's watching this has used Skadi and knows how to use her kits, so I won't go into it. But I don't think her 3 is as important to use. Her ultimate is definitely very important to use because if you're an aggressive Skadi player, you're probably going to be using Calder a lot, and so he might be low health quite a bit. So being able to use the ultimate to refresh his health is actually, I think, more important than um, than the damage of it. I think that's one of the most important parts of the ability is to get Calder back at full health. Um, and because this is a build that's focused around the damage that Calder is doing, I think that having him back at full health as much as possible is very important. Um, so we're gonna go in Jotun's Wrath. Good physical power, and again, you're gonna see a lot of these items have a lot. I think all of them have 35 or 40 physical power because that's the focus, is to get as much physical power as possible. And so after Jotun's, we're going to go into Sais. This is going to help out her basic attacks a little bit. It's really the only basic attack kind of focus item that we're going to have in the build. It gives the physical power. Again, this is the reason we're using this item. Every hunter has been using Sais. There's no reason not to get it. The stats are just too good. So that's why we're going to go into that for the fourth item. And then after Sais, we're going to actually do a couple things. We could because I don't think any one build should just be the same every time, because you're going to face different compositions. It's good to have different options. With this build, I think it's very important to think about what you want to do for this fifth item, because there are two choices that I think will work, and it depends on what you're facing. Now, I think we're going to look actually at Wingblade. This is an item that's being used a lot, and this will just give her a little bit more sustain in team fights. A lot of people are playing Skadi right now, so you might be in duo against another Skadi if you are playing her, so you might want to buy this item just to sustain the Calder attacks. I've noticed that if you're playing Skadi and you're playing against another one, it's actually kind of tough because you're going to be squishy and you're going to have to be dealing with their slow. So the Wingblade will just help if you're facing another Skadi, and if you're facing any other slow in the team, this is a good item to have as well. And you're going to have the extra health. You're also going to have the extra attack speed and some movement speed, so that'll be helpful. And then I think Calder will have the movement speed buff on him as well. I'm not sure how that works. I might have to look that up. If you know, please let me know in the comments if movement speed affects Calder, because I don't really know. But it's definitely good. A strong item to have. It's very cheap, and I think it's just it's a good mix between defense and a little bit of offense, with the attack speed and the movement speed. So I think it works on hunters, and it really works well on Skadi. So that's what you could do. That's the original build that I have. What you could do instead, if you want to go much more aggressive, which I think a lot of people like to do, is instead of going Wingblade, to go into Titan's Bane. Now, again, because we're trying to make the wolf damage just even better, we're trying to get more penetration. Actually, I take that back. The penetration on the passive of this will just help your basic attacks. So this is again helping your basic attacks a little bit more, and will give you that extra physical power. So even though we're focusing on the physical power on Calder, we're also going to be having again using the basic attacks as a follow-up to Skadi's abilities to kind of help her confirm kills. Because even though you might do a lot of damage with your abilities, you still need those basic attacks to kind of finish them off. That's really how Skadi works. You attack with Calder, then you might ult them, and then they might have a little bit of health left, and you can use those basics to finish them off. So that's really what the focus is. So you could do either one of those. I'll leave Titan's Bane right now. And then for the last item, it's another choice. So Calder can he can focus towers. He cannot attack Titans. I believe he can attack Phoenixes, but because he can attack towers, this item will be great on Skadi. So this just increases the power that you have against towers. I'm not going to go into the passive too much, but you can see it there. And again, even without the passive, the physical power and the physical penetration are great. So it really doesn't matter. Like when I see the Crusher, I like the passive, and it definitely helps to use it on a god that might split push or is focusing on pushing towers. But to me, the physical power and the penetration is enough. I don't really care about the passive as much. And I think in this build, because we're trying to maximize, again, the physical power, and then the penetration will just make Calder's, if Calder is attacking a tank, then his bite will just do a lot more damage. So we're just trying to increase that. And I've used this build several times. Let me tell you, it makes the wolf so strong. He's gonna be pretty unstoppable. So late game, you're gonna be having a lot of fun with this build. And so we can do the Crusher. The other alternative is an item that is similar to the Crusher, and that is Brawler's Beatstick. Now, uh, again, so Brawler's Beatstick and the Crusher are two items that I think people don't use as much as they should because they see the passive and they think, well, that passive doesn't really apply to what the composition is. Like if I'm playing against a team that doesn't have any healers, then why would I buy Brawler's Beatstick? That's what a lot of people might think, so they might not buy it. But you have to think about the base stats. The physical power and the penetration are way more important than the passive. So if you're not playing against a healer, it's okay. You can still buy this item. And let's say you get to the end of the game and you don't have any towers, so you don't really need the Crusher. You might get this one instead. So it's a choice. So these last two items it depends on what you want to do. You can do Titan's Bane, or you can do Wingblade, and then you can do Brawler's Beatstick, or you can do the Crusher. But either way, you're going to have. So I'm going to show the build. I like to do this now. I'm going to build all the items and show you how the stats are on the left. So you can see the physical power with this is going to be 266. With Titan's Bane, we're going to have more penetration here. So we have 30 physical penetration with this build. The max is 50, so that's pretty good. You're going to be doing a lot. But there, again, you're going to be looking at the attack speed, and it's 1.32, and that's not going to be as strong as a lot of other hunters. But again, that's not the focus of the build. So, and if we go from item to item, you'll see 35 physical power, 40, 40, 40. So they all have a lot of physical 30. They all have a lot of physical power, and there's a lot of penetration in this build as well. Especially if you build Titan's Bane, I think that if you want Calder to do even more damage, you definitely need Titan's Bane instead of Wingblade. But it depends on how you want to build. If you're falling behind, you might pick up Wingblade instead. But I think this is a very strong build. I don't think I've seen a build that's better so far. I really enjoy this. Again, she's a new god, so if you're experimenting with her build, let me know what you're doing. I definitely would like to know. I have a lot of fun with her. I just played a game where we went like 30-2. She's like really, really easy, so enjoy her while she's overpowered because they're definitely going to nerf her. So if you haven't played Skadi yet and you're watching this, go play her. She's really, really fun and not that hard, and she's got a lot of cool mechanics as well. So, and if you are playing her, let me know what you think about her in the comments. That'd be great. And then the last thing I want to do is talk about relics. I think beads is a great start. You might go sprint. Again, I don't know if sprint affects Calder. That's a good question. If you know that, if sprint affects Calder, please let me know. I actually don't know. But you can go sprint after that. And then you can go into Aegis, or whatever you want. So that's a pretty good overview of the build. Let me know what you think, and thank you very much for watching. And finally, I want to show some footage of the build. So you can see right here, Calder attacks for 371 on the dash and then does 247 with his regular attacks. This is with the Wingblade Brawler's Beatstick build, and I will show the other one. Her 1 hits for 368, and her basics hit around 250 with this build. And then we can also look at her 3 ability and her ultimate. The 3, when you place it, does, I believe, 210 damage, and then when Ross stands on it, it also ticks for like 50 damage. And then the ultimate we will look at next, and look at some of the damage from that. So when she places the ultimate, it'll tick for about 50 damage, and then her basics will do 250, so she gets a little bit of power when she uses her ultimate. And then we're going to look into the other build, which is what you sell Wingblade and have Titan's Bane instead. So this is the more aggressive build. And we're going to look at some of the damage from this build. So Calder attacks for 487 with this, and Skadi does 325 with her basics. And then the 3 ticks for, I think, 60. And then looking at her ultimate, it will tick for about 60, so it does a little bit more damage. So that's some footage of the build, and thanks again for watching.